themselves. Now remember, the feminist movement was an exclusionary movement. They excluded men. And if they weren't excluding men, the men they brought in were essentially people that supported that undermining policy that feminism was dealing with. And that then gave rise to them enjoining themselves with the homosexual movement and every other movement that began to adhere themselves to the so-called civil rights totem. And what they did was begin to attach themselves to civil rights and use that to dovetail their own individual, quote-unquote, aspects and interpretations of civil rights. So they went after the black woman, and they got her. They got Coretta Scott King. She became feminized. They got our sister Malcolm's wife. She became part of the boule. And they went after them, and of course, our sisters were doing it in a way hoping to raise their status in society by enjoining and becoming part of the status quo when they began to not realize that it was there, what they were pushing in their policies that were promoted like by people like Steinem and black feminists like Audre Lorde and Angela Davis and all the rest of them that came out from that ilk. They began to promote independence in women, which was the same slave context, the same slave blueprint that they used. Turn the tables, flip the polarities.
See, you know, nobody is going to give us this information. They have us standing around sometime and pointing at the brothers and saying, yeah, that's them over there, they ain't no good, they doing this and that and the other, and it's all negative. And they have us thinking that the black man is gonna die and we gonna live on. But that's not how it's going to go. There is still one monolith in the black community, and that's that it still takes a man and a woman to make a baby. So if the black man dies, we all die. And I don't want to die. I want to live. I want my children and my grandchildren and whatever else is coming after Sharizard, I want that to live. But we are not on the path of life. We're on the path of destruction. You know, learning how to get along has to be taught by force. Slavery was taught by force. We didn't volunteer for that. They made us do that. They forced us to do that. And that's how we're going to have to learn how to reunify. It's going to have to be done by force. We're going to have to make ourselves try to deal with each other. And that's very difficult. It certainly takes a great deal of self-control and love for your nation at large. It's the greatest form of unselfishness. Now, I don't go around advocating that people that hate each other stay together. That's not what I'm saying. That's different. We can't solve a problem or get to a solution about a problem that we refuse to acknowledge that we have. We don't have to be ashamed that we have a problem. We don't have to be ashamed to know that it is related to slavery, because all of our problems are related to slavery. And I know that that seems to be some old hat issue, and everybody want me to stop talking about that. Nobody would tell the Japanese woman to forget about the fact that during World War II, the white man interned her family, took all of their personal possessions. Nobody would tell her to forget about that. Nobody would tell the Indian woman, forget about the fact that the white man came over here and took your country and put you and your babies out on the reservation. And nobody would dare to tell the Jewish woman to forget about the Holocaust, so why I gotta forget about slavery? See, the Japanese and the Indian and the Jewish woman got behind their men, and they had some very terrible histories also. But because they got behind their men and supported them and worked with them, those people are successful today. They own property, they have businesses, they got great land here and abroad. You know, they have stocks, bonds, whatever America has to offer, they own part of that. They are in a position to make decisions because they have some ownership. It's only been the black man and the black woman who didn't reunite after a terrible time. And so today we are splintered. We don't have very much. We practice envy, jealousy. You know, they taught us a lot of bad habits that we practice against each other. If we practice everything we practice against each other, against the white man, they'd have been killed out of America. Most of that stuff we reserve for our own kind. And that's wrong. We have had that rumor that we are the backbone of the black nation because it has served to make us think we were better than the black man. We have walked around and wore that as some kind of a sacred garment. And our men have had to struggle up under the already preconceived notion that they wasn't no good.
The woman you see right here is so-called American feminist, journalist, and social and political activist Gloria Steinem, who became nationally recognized as a leader of and media spokeswoman for the women's liberation movement in the late 1960s and 1970s. But did you know that she was working for the CIA? Wikipedia only pays a small amount of lip service to this little factoid, but the facts are that Miss Steinem became a media darling due to her connections to the CIA, and the feminist Ms. Magazine was funded by CIA money. In the 1970s, a radical feminist group called the Red Stockings claimed that before she became a feminist leader, she was spying on Marxist students in Europe and disrupting their meetings. Steinem was recruited by CIA's Cord Myers to direct an informal group of activists called the Independent Research Service. This was part of Myers' Congress for Cultural Freedom, which created magazines like Encounter and Partisan Review to promote a left liberal chic to oppose Marxism. Steinem attended communist-sponsored youth festivals in Europe, published a paper, reported on other participants, and helped to provoke riots.
It's a very serious situation. Let us take a look at what we as black women have produced while we were allegedly backboning the black nation. 1 in every 4 black males between the age of 20 and 29 is in prison or parole, been arrested, had some bump with the law. Over 50% of our prison population is black, male, growing, and female. We have more black men in prison than in college. 6 out of every 10 black men between the ages of 15 and 44 are unemployed, in jail, got some disease, homosexual, on drugs. 73% of all the black men in prison were raised by a single black woman in a home with no man. 80% of that 73% suffered child abuse in the home, victimized by the mother. 1/3 of our children drop out of school before they graduate. Over 60% of our households are headed by black women who are single, divorced, separated, or widowed. Yeah, we got a serious problem. And then God sent Sister Sharizard. He said, we're going to deal with it now.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man. So you can't stand up and say to your woman, I'm a man. If you're that, you don't even have to say that. Don't you look like telling someone you're a man? You make it sound like you're doubtful. I mean, am I right or wrong? No. If I had to come in here and tell you that I was a minister, why, good night. You must not know what I am. I'd be ashamed to tell you that. If you didn't know that I was that, I would never say it. Because something would be lacking. Is that right or wrong? Same way with manhood. When you have to tell someone, I'm a man too, why you think so-called Negro have to tell a white man, I'm a man same as you? Because you're not a man the same as he. No, this man got factories. Banks. That's what make him a man, brother. When you get the same thing, your woman will say, man. You know that? You come up with a thing. Well, your wife will call you a man all the way across town. You won't never have to tell her you boss. She'll call you boss. Call you daddy and mean it.